My name's Brian Holston. Yep, affected 25 years. Just want to thank Alyssa and Maria for asking me to speak. It's an honor and it's humbling. And I also have to thank my sister and brother-in-law and my niece and nephew, Harper and Mason. Hello. For taking me to Washington last year exposing me to all this. So this year I'm with my mom and my dad, Deirdre and Hank, who are extremely supportive. So yeah, 25 years. I was 20 when I was affected by LHON. It's 11.778, the more common genetic strain. And I was in college. I was going to culinary school. I was going to Johnson Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. And for me, it was pretty rapid, and it was in pretty much both eyes at the same time. I didn't really distinguish one from the other. First I thought I needed glasses, though. I didn't know anything about LHON. I didn't, although quickly I found out that this does, obviously it's carried on through my mother's side of the family, and I have a brother that was also affected by this, although at the time I didn't know that that's why he lost his sight. It might sound confusing, but I won't get into all that now. And then I have a great uncle that was also affected by this, and but I really didn't have any interaction with him. I didn't really even, that all came to light after the fact. So it was only a matter of, I was driving as well. I was driving to a third shift bake class. It was from 11 to 7 in the morning, and I was actually driving other people, picking other people up for class, and I was all of a sudden, one day I was seeing fine, the next day, that's how dramatic this was for me. I was to the point where I'm having so much trouble seeing signs that on the way home, I asked other people to drive the car until I was the last one in the car, and then drove it home. And it was that dramatic for me. It wasn't. And then the following day, I was in New York City seeing an ophthalmologist, and he basically told me what was going on, and he said, there really is there's nothing we can do other than wait, and this whole the progression or digression of the disease is about a 6-month period, so we'll bring you back in about 6 months, and we'll see or not see what you see, and that was it. And I went back to school, and finished off the class that I was in, and then took a little hiatus. I think it was a semester. It's a trimester school, so it took off. I think a semester or so, and at the time I was living on Long Island with my parents, and the place to go was the Lighthouse in New York City, and so I was taking the Long Island, and actually I quickly got a mobility instructor in order to now take Long Island Railroad and then take about 3 different subways to get to 56 in Lexington, where the Lighthouse was, and so I had a mobility instructor that showed me how to do that. And funny, last year, the guy Matthew that was speaking, he was talking about the movie Scent of a Woman and how he liked that movie before anything ever happened to him. And my mobility instructor was the guy that actually showed Al Pacino how to act like a blind man in the movie. He was literally the expert, I guess, on the movie set. I was handed a cane, and I did not like that, and I used it apprehensively for a little while, and just as a 20-year-old, going on 21-year-old guy. You know, I think as all people, you know, I didn't want to look like there was something wrong with me. And so more than anything, I tried to figure out how am I going to get around and not look like I have a visual impairment, you know. And the doctor earlier was talking about the psychological aspects of all this, which I think are, I mean, the side issue is you either have it or you don't. You know, it's how we deal with all this, and yeah, all the feelings that are involved. You know, you know, I think this is awesome because we, you know, we get to share all of our successes and failures and how we handle this from point of being affected or diagnosed with this, and then so on, you know. And you know, I think Paige has handled it incredibly. And you know, I went right back to school, and then Dr. Sadoun was speaking about the tire fire with those people. And, you know, I was someone. You know, there's parts of my story that I'm not particularly proud of, but. You know, I basically had quite a bit of a tire fire going on myself, so to speak. So whether that influenced my, you know, this being my LHON being kicked on or not, who's to say? Who's to know? Because you know, this is where we're at. You know, you know, but I think that. And there was no knowledge at that time, really, that, or at least that was, I didn't even know this existed for me. So there was no knowledge about that. So I don't know if I was informed of all that stuff, whether that would have influenced me one way or the other. You know, and then the coping with it afterwards, I think I threw a few more tires on the fire. You know, and I stayed in school though. That was my kind of my safe haven. And you know, I got my culinary degree. I stayed in school. I got a bachelorship in entrepreneur, and then I got a teaching master's certificate, and then I was presented an opportunity to run a business, and I took that instead of going like the teaching route. You know, it took me many years and a lot of pitfalls and a lot of you know, a lot of trial and error and a lot of ups and downs. This road certainly is not linear. You know, and the Jeremy was speaking about the 5 steps of going through this, of grieving, and then finally acceptance. And I believe that's true, but I also believe that we might do that many times. You know, we might revisit that whole thing and then deal with, and then go through the process, but at a different level. And you know, I've had to, for me at least, that's certainly been the case. You know, I've taken all the tires off of the fire, and you know, even when I had tires on the fire, I would also was very active and into weightlifting and things like that. And but now I certainly I'm very conscious of my diet, and you know, I'm going back to school again to hopefully get a master's in counseling for alcohol and drug addiction, and I am, you know, I got to say that this happened to my brother, as I said, and he's also mentally challenged and epileptic, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take a breath.
For me, he should be sitting here, because he's my inspiration. But he, you know, cognitively can't. And right now I'm having trouble doing it. But he can't present this. You know, he can't tell his own story. And but you know, I mean, this guy's got more challenges than, you know, I couldn't do it. And so, you know, we all have to look at, you know, someone else. When I'm on my pity pot, for me, like, I have a great faith myself. And when I'm on the pity pot, for me, my God puts a guy in a wheelchair in front of me, and then I'm like, shut up, because I can run. You know, I can run. You know, I might run into a wall or a car, but I can run. You know, so I just, you know, if I'm getting that way, somehow I become grateful, and you know.
Brian,
Thank
you.
you.
I love your story. Give him a round of applause for him.